Okay, it's recording. Welcome to Honest Dialogues, episode 8, I believe. My name is Tomasz, I'm a host, and we have amazing guest today, Dania. If you don't mind, Dania, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and all about, and then we can go and record the whole session.
Yeah. Hi, Tomasz.
Hi.
So my name is Dania Wittmann, and I work at Works Advertising. I'm an associate creative director, and I've been with the group for about, I'd say probably like since 2005 when we were at Crew, and then you and I worked together, which was probably like, God, I guess that was probably like, was that like 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, so insane. Yeah, so I've been with them ever since. It's been about 10 years now that we've been Works Advertising, but yeah, so that's where I've been.
Dania, so what do you design? What do you oversee? Like, I know a little bit about you, but could you please tell everybody what is that you guys design?
Well, we do a lot of like, kind of big tentpole movies, like a lot of the DC stuff, like Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad. Those have been some of the finishes we've done in the past. We do like romantic comedies. Every now and then we get a horror movie, which is really fun. But yeah, pretty much like, I don't know, like every genre you could probably possibly think of. And sometimes we do logo design, which like I would love to get more inspiration from you about that because you're so good at, doing all the 3D stuff. Yeah, and so I've been associate creative director probably for about 2 years now. Started out as an art director and just sort of like worked my way.
We used to sit next to each other. So today, just so everybody will know, and we are aiming at designers, current designers, soon to be designers. And part of the Honest Dialogues, I guess, motto is to say how it is. And it became natural that I will speak with Dania and to make a true dialogue, actually. So because Dania is freaking honest. Today we're going to talk about, and Dania suggested this topic, actually, we're going to talk about, inspiration in tough times and how do you overcome this? What do you do with the inspiration? How you can stay being inspired? So we were just met briefly right before this, and we're going to literally feed off each other and ask each other questions. And hopefully these questions will give you some answers. Literally, if you're stuck somewhere, hopefully you will find a way, you will find a little bit of energy to move forward. Because we've been doing this for years, and for us, it's never meant to stop. So even if we wanted this to stop, we cannot, because this is our profession. And so, and if it's a hobby, it's a different thing. So Dania, if you don't start, and we'll ask each other questions.
Yeah, it's crazy that you say that, like that's our job and we have to make it work. And yeah, that can be such a big pressure sometimes. It's like you have to be creative like for 8 hours a day. And sometimes you feel like you run out of steam. And I don't know, sometimes you have days, or maybe it's like a job that you just like can't, I don't know, you just like can't get it together. And then maybe you start noticing like, one of your coworkers, oh, they're churning out a bunch of great stuff. And you look around you and you're like, oh, why am I not getting it? Yeah. And so that's something that I think can happen pretty often. It could be pretty discouraging, but at the same time, I think sometimes you have to just like sit there, like take a breath, take a moment. Even if you're like running out of time, you have a deadline, sometimes it's almost worth it, I find, to like take a moment aside and maybe even like I've been trying to get into like meditating lately. Like everyone says you should do it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I never do, but finally I start, now that we've been in this pandemic, I sort of needed that to stay grounded. But I'm noticing that really when you kind of like sort of like close your mind and you let your mind get still, almost like ideas start kind of like flooding in.
Interesting.
So I think that's like a really great way recently that I discovered is a great way to get inspired.
Do you provoke it somehow, or it just automatically starts somehow? It's how
Yeah, it's
do you
really
overcome
weird.
this moment?
It's almost like this magical thing. I don't know. you just, you just like, what I do is I just go and I sit in Finn's playroom, and I just, well, for me, I have to lay down because my legs get all tingly and my legs get dead. So I just like, I lay on my back, and then I just like force my mind to be quiet, to be still. And then all of a sudden it's almost like these images like start kind of like flooding in, and I'm not trying to make them come. They just kind of like come freely.
Do you think about the problem that you have to solve, or you're thinking in general, you're just letting it go and whatever comes to you, or you're constantly thinking about this problem that you have to solve? Because just for viewers, what we do, we tell stories with our images, right? So if you want to tell the story, how do you do this? You have a bunch of assets that you can create or you already have, and you sort of browse literally. So do you think of the problem, or you just let it go and it just happens in your mind?
Well, I think I kind of like, of course it's on my mind always. And so I think right before I go in, maybe my intention is there. And but then I just shut everything off, and then it just sort of like comes to me. But this is kind of a newer practice for me. But I would say before that, probably one of the places I got my most inspiration was being in my car.
Oh.
And there's one point in particular I was telling you earlier. I remember we were working on Batman versus Superman, and everybody around me was like churning out comps, and I only had one comp, and I was just like, oh my, I was freaking out. And so in my car on the way home, I was just like thinking, and then finally I had remembered seeing right outside of our office this wall of wild postings. I don't know if you ever see like wild postings that have been like ripped over and over, and it creates these like cool layers.
After 3
and then
days.
I've also just been in Germany, and let me show you really quick. I'm gonna show you a couple things. I don't know if you can see it, hold on. So this is something I remember seeing right before, hold on, not that one.
And this was in your memory?
Yeah. So I had just seen this in Germany, and I was inspired by it. And so I was like, then it hit me when I was in my car. And then, so I tried it out the next day, but it just wasn't working. And I was running out of time. I kept doing the rips, and I wasn't getting the layering I wanted. And I was freaking out, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. And I was like going to give up. And I was like, no, this is my only chance. I don't have any other comps. And so I just like, I used the other side of the cardboard and started doing rips, and found that the cardboard had like 2 layers to it, and it made like the perfect layers of rips. And yeah, I almost gave up, but luckily just kind of like stuck it through. And I don't know, sometimes I think some certain clients sometimes think the less time you have, almost the better work you do. Yeah. You know, because you're forced to just like be like spontaneous. And yeah, I don't know. What about you, Tomasz? What do you do? Because I feel like you're just brimming all the time with ideas. And like, so do you ever have moments where you're in a rut?
Yes, but it's a constant exercise. Back to your, for a second, a little bit of what you said is, you know, the saying of a deadline being the best inspiration. This is literally it, and this is what I do. Sometimes I impose it on myself. You know, it's just fake deadline. I have to make it by this. And somehow in your brain, after years, brain knows that this is no BS. It has to be done by Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And then it truly starts to work. My equivalent of your car is shower. As weird as it sounds, this is the moment of peace. This is a moment of me separating from everything else. And literally I can bring maybe 20 different examples of ideas that I had while stepping out of the shower.
Wow.
It's amazing how it works.
That's awesome.
And I can totally relay on your car. And the second thing I hear from you is physical experimentation with stuff, not literally departing from a computer where sometimes we're stuck within the 4 walls of the computer, and doing something physical and counting on unpredictability of physical things, right? This sort of helps you to solve this puzzle, because what works in our head, it doesn't work necessarily in as a still image. And nature helps you with this. So I think this may be a takeover from this thing. For me, I do mention fake deadlines. I do it on myself. And second, I do something similar to
Good.
what you do, and I would highly recommend it to others. But it's not necessarily quiet. It's like I listen to dubstep a lot. This music, what it gives me, the rhythm. And
Yeah.
within this rhythm, when I look for images, I like 90% what you do and 10% of music, let's say. So I sort of
Yeah.
meditate with the music.
That's
And
a really great idea.
those images sort of, I'm forcing them to come to life, literally.
Yeah, with this rhythm.
This image. And this is
Yeah.
very repetitive. It's really kind of boring rhythm in a way. But I'm forcing myself to come up with something within the time distance. So this helps me a lot. And then since we cannot right now go to any museums or places too much, I treat my mind as a gallery. I go there and I look for things and places that I visited in the past. Like what you did with the imagery, I do it in my head, literally constantly. And
Wow.
I think for people to know that there is, if you have luxury of time, I think you can come up with anything. If you don't, you'll come up with something the best for this period of time. So if you have a time, if you're working on something for your own, give yourself a luxury of a day or two, right? If you don't have a true deadline.
Yeah.
Dania, for you, because you still have to execute it, right? So
Yeah.
how does it, that's my question. How does it, because it's obvious to me because I do it, right? How does your idea becomes something physical? Like, how do you design it? Do you see this image in your head, or how is it accurate? Is it like what you imagine? Is it the same what you produce? How is that? Because I think we can come up with 1,000 ideas, but
Yeah, it's like, what's the best way to execute it? Yeah, like, and in this case, it's like, okay, well, I could probably find some stock photography of rips, but I don't know. I just don't think it's going to have the, what's the word? Like the right, probably not
feel
saying the
or
right
the
word.
dynamics of this rip,
Yeah, like the right, like integrity. I don't know if that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Something just might be lacking. So I feel like where something that is meant to look hand done, it's almost better to just try it first, like with your hand, and then like just go from there. Like see how that works first. Because I think something that's hand done almost, I don't know, it just has like a little extra like spirit to it, like a little bit of extra life when you're able to like get in there and put your mind into it and your hands and you know what I'm saying.
This randomness
Yeah.
of nature, right? Because when you do, we're both
Yeah.
digital artists, but so it
Yeah.
becomes
And
a little
we get
perfect.
away from it. I mean, you did a lot of I mean, you've done like a lot of like hands-on art, you know, and I think a lot of us started out as you know, like physical artists, like painters.
Yes.
And I think that's something also that's important to do every now and then. And it's actually something we did at work recently that was pretty fun is we sort of had like a craft day where we kind of like printed out, we
Awesome.
printed out all these just whatever, like images of like clip art and of letters. And we gave ourselves a limit of just using like 5 sheets of paper. And then we like created a poster out of it. And it was just such a like cool exercise. It was something that we did at my school for one of my experimental type classes. It was such a great exercise to let your mind be spontaneous and not to get like worked up in the little details. And I think maybe every now and then doing an exercise like that to sort of like untangle your mind and just be able to flow a little bit better is, yeah, it's maybe not such a bad idea.
Awesome. Awesome. Really cool. So how do you transfer it later on to the computer? Do you take a picture of it, or do you scan it, or do you recreate it in your computer?
Yeah, you would scan it. I mean, it's a little tough to alter it after that, but actually, let me show you. I just got permission from Tyler, my friend and my coworker, to show his posters that he did for this exercise. Let's see. So this is just using like found art, and we just kind of like glued it together and then photocopied it. And I don't know, I mean, maybe that's something you could do for a movie poster. And I think there was a movie that did it recently, or something like it. It was called, what was it? It's kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde type movie. I don't remember what it's called because I'm trying to think of it. But
That is,
Yeah.
so it allows you to be a little bit more random in a way. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because so when we met each other some years ago, 15 years ago, we did a lot of brainstorms. And I think
Yeah.
people often forget about this, that
Oh,
now
totally.
even better than in the past, you can call somebody.
Yeah.
Like we call each other now.
Yeah.
You can call somebody and brainstorm with them.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that my best friendships were sort of molded in the
Mhm.
brainstorms, because these are the moments where we can say everything to each other.
Yeah.
We can be true us, and we can explore areas where we couldn't in the past, or we cannot in the front of the client, for example, because
Yeah.
we have to go through certain areas to eliminate them, right? So we don't want to go with this campaign, we don't want to go with this branding this way, but you have to be there not to know that you should not go there, right? So
Yeah.
like, to me, brainstorms was the best exercise for friendship and the best exercise for creativity. And to
So
those
true.
who are watching and listening, don't be afraid to reach out to others, and this makes your product better. It's your
Yeah.
brain. That's freaking awesome, right? But
Yeah.
if you can meet with Dania or with me or with somebody else, we can inspire or trigger something that you have never done before. Same with other people, not necessarily us. Don't call us. um, maybe. But I would like, Dania, so how is, like, do you guys still brainstorm in the COVID times? Do you connect and do you talk with each other? Be like, hey, what do you think about that? I have this idea. Can you take a look at this? Does it happen, or is it
Good
more
question.
siloed in a way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought it up because I think that is something we should probably be doing more of.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we're not like having our normal critiques the way that we used to. But yeah, just even I think even in the workplace, when before COVID, we probably could have done it even more. But I do have to say that we do work pretty good as a team at Works, and I think that's so important, like to have some place where you have harmony and you don't feel like you're in a competition with your
Yes.
coworkers. I think that's really something to remember, especially when you're getting started, because you're so excited and you want people to like see your ideas and you want to like have ownership of your ideas. But also you have to remember like, oh, we need to like come together to like provide the best like product for the client. We want to look good, and it's really about like working together to get there.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, like I can't think of a better way to make art,
Mhm.
and that's something like Kylie and I, sometimes we sit outside in our lunch break and we like throw ideas back and forth, and I just like love that, and I wish we did more of that. So I'm like really glad that you brought that up, because I just see forget.
Yeah, so like the COVID right now it made us forget about this, because we're distance wise, like
That's so
really
true.
geographically we're apart. But through this we can brainstorm. And when you're stuck, when you suffer maybe from lockdown or something, this is the window to creativity with others. And as long as
Yeah,
people are
such a
not
good reminder.
afraid of sharing this, and this is what I've been
Yeah,
cultivating my whole life, and this is how
totally.
we.
And that's why I love why you're doing this, Tomash, which is
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's so commendable that you're doing that,
Oh, thank you.
because like I said, like people can get kind of like, oh, these are my tools. Like, I don't want to share that. Like, I don't want people to learn my tools, but I don't know, I almost think like
Makes us
it's
better.
almost better for you as a designer to share with others
Sure.
too.
There's so much you can learn
So
actually now, and the time
yeah.
where everything is available online, right? I remember times
Mhm.
like when we met or earlier, when online search was giving us not much. Now you search for something and somebody's done something similar or better, and you're like, ah,
Yeah.
okay, so where do I go from there? So this is how I think about this, how to stay fresh and creative. It's not that I'm looking for the things that I'm looking for, are hard to find online. This is kind of first thing.
Yeah.
But if I find something, I'm trying to spin it the way that nobody else did. So,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
this is like a puzzle to me. Oh, actually, to me, Dania, I'm not sure if this is like this for you. We have 10 more minutes, by the way. Um,
Mhm.
if it's for you like this, to me, it's like a puzzle. When I have bits and pieces of information like a
Mhm.
little bit of this from creative brief, a little bit of this from imagery, a little bit of this what I've heard, and then like by the water cooler, right? And then I go and marinate, like you when you're laying in bed and you're like, what can I do? So this is the moment where all those ideas freaking collide. And most of the time you don't get good ideas, but there is a moment where the atoms hit in the right pace, and it's like, fuck, yeah, oh my god, I got this idea. Sorry, I get excited. I get excited when we talk about creative stuff. And does it happen to you? Do you like get up and be like, yes, this is it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just like get that aha moment, and then you just like you go to your machine, you like put it together really fast before you forget about it. Or like sometimes I will like record it in my phone, like if I'm in the car, which is probably not very safe. There's probably a safer way to do it, but to like, you know, do the voice, like the voice command to take a note. Like sometimes
Yeah.
I'll do that. Um, but yeah, that's like always, it's exciting when you have those moments where it's just like,
Daniel,
it's
let
like
me ask,
hits you full to lightning.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you two questions. How How do you memorize those ideas? Do you have a sketch pad? Do you write it somewhere? Do you like if you can summarize it? And the second is that what kind of tools are you using to bring your idea to life, to whatever you do? Like what do you do to make it
What's the
actually happen?
process?
Like, hey, this was in my head like 25
Yeah.
minutes ago. Now it's a product that is printed or presented somewhere. Which tools do you use? So for others, they
Mm-hmm.
may be like, oh, okay, Dania was using this X, Y, and Z. Maybe I should try it, right?
Yeah.
Go for
Well, I
it.
think you talked about one of your other episodes about scrap and the importance of scrap. So when I first started at Crew, I didn't have any scrap at all, and I didn't even know what it was. And they would say like, okay, now start. You know, we're gonna do a sketch presentation. So I'd just be like, okay, what could I do? I know, come up with my idea. But then they say, okay, now you need something to support that. And then it would take like sometimes hours just to find scrap for one idea. And so then luckily Weston was so nice to share his scrap with me, like his first collection of scrap. And so that's kind of like how I got started. And so now, I mean, there's definitely something commendable, I think, about coming up with your own original idea just from your mind. But I feel like it's almost easier to get inspired by seeing, you know, like for me at least, when I look through my scrap collection and then I do my own like twist on it. So I usually like start there, and then probably could work off the computer more, but then we usually we'll take it into like a scrum. We take any like found imagery, you know, off the internet along with the scrap and kind of like hack it together to get our idea.
Okay.
And then that gets sketched, and then yeah, then we use Photoshop. You know, you go through, pick the best shots. I put all my selects into a folder. Everything I think could be possibly like the best shots to use. And then I do like a stock search. And sometimes actually stock can be really inspiring too. Like there's been one of my Harry Potter series was inspired by a piece of stock. So yeah, even stock can be really inspirational.
Yes, you look for color, you look for, I don't know, rhythm there or angle,
Yeah,
right? And anything can inspire you if you have
yeah,
this moment of thinking about it, right? Because you can
yeah,
go through and you have most likely you have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of images on your drive. And of course, you look at every single image from different angle, like, oh, from this image, I may use maybe the coloring. Maybe this image
yeah,
will inspire me as far as like a mood, right?
totally.
Wow. So like,
But yeah, that's perfect the way you said it. Like, I think this might be helpful for people. What I do is I actually categorize all my scrap. So I have like lighting, angle, composition, color,
photography.
action. So I have a folder for every piece of scrap, and I just kind of categorize it as I go. Otherwise, it gets like too crazy and cumbersome. But yeah, I think for me that's the best that works for me. And there's
Okay.
also sites like Design Inspiration, which is a really great site for people to check out.
Uh-huh.
Everybody knows about Pinterest. Um, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Where do you go to, Tomash? Like, where do you on the internet? Where do you go to get
it
ideas,
really
or who
depends.
inspires you?
If it's commercial posters, I do exactly as you do. I think this is how we were raised and baptized in this business, and it's sort of, it works. It truly works.
Yeah.
But for my slightly off ideas for my non-commercial posters, I go only into my brain. And
Okay.
and
Because that is what I want to know. Where you get these
that's
wild ideas, and even like, is it a Polish thing?
it
Because
must
I
be
mean,
Polish
even look at
thing.
the Polish posters. Where do they get all these
It's
surreal?
I can tell you, we can do one episode about it, because how I see posters, it's one to a one and punch, for example. So there is an image that sort of evokes certain emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and there is message, and you get hit with that. So this is how I think about it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think of metaphor for certain things. So if the film or the story that I'm trying to convey has pivotal moment, but not necessarily um, I'm not revealing too much,
Yeah.
then I'm trying to find in my head equivalent of behavior somewhere else that I can illustrate it with. Like I did recently, my non-commercial poster for Parasite. That Parasite to me was somebody, was yourself whispering in your own ear. This is how I
Mm-hmm.
imagine that. I don't know
Yeah.
how, if I was to look for images of Parasite, I would probably get a lot of like weird creatures, right?
Yeah.
Who knows, that could have been like freaking awesome poster, but I came up with this idea of somebody whispering into your ear. That's your parasite,
Mm-hmm.
right? Somebody inside of you that tells you what to do, like your body is lying to you what you should do. So
Yeah.
this is how I approach that, and I go in my head and I do literally this. I think I showed it in one of the videos. This is how I do it. This is how I do it. And then for my graffiti, I look at tons of graffiti, and I'm trying to find something that nobody else have done in a way.
Yeah.
So I
Where do
do.
you find graffiti? Like, there's a lot of graffiti in LA, but I noticed too, like, when I travel to other countries, there's like so many different types of graffiti.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I saw some really like a graffiti I've never seen before in like Italy, and then Berlin is like covered in graffiti. Like,
Each
where do you find?
we
Does
do
Poland have
have,
graffiti?
huh?
Does Poland have like their own style
Yes.
of
Oh, yeah. We
graffiti?
do have really significant. Like we since I've been doing this since I was a kid, I used to spray on a wall. But
Oh,
each
now
country
we
has a flavor, and
now we're
then
gonna
the
come
regional
rescue.
flavor. So if you go to Japan, you'll see completely different stuff than in Germany or in the
Yeah,
States. And
so cool.
then there is digital form that look behind me. This is one of the examples, or on
Yeah,
me.
I've
Um,
never seen that before.
yeah. So this is stuff that I
Cool.
was trying
Oh,
to
I never seen
invent.
that tattoo either.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it goes all over. Anyways,
Oh
so
my God.
what I see is I'm trying to make this almost like in my head. This is what I see and I know. What is that I have not seen or know? It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to come up with. That's why I treat it as a challenge, you know? So if this is everything I know, what's not there? And I'm trying to invent that. And this is how I do my graffiti in a way.
Yeah.
It's challenge. Luckily, I have time to do that. But if there was a deadline, this would be like freaking challenging.
Whoa. Have you ever seen anybody doing your kind of digital graffiti before, or do you feel like you're the first to do it?
There's like two artists, I don't remember names right now, that we do it in a similar way, certain sort of
Mm.
3Dism into it. But the thing is that each graffiti of mine has a meaning behind it. So each graffiti is a transform word. So one of my favorite is my mom, for example, my
Uh-huh.
word mom, and it's twisted
Oh,
and combined that you would not recognize it. Only I know
oh,
what it
that's
truly is
crazy.
and why the colors are this way, and etc. One day we'll do gallery, so I will talk about it.
That's
I
amazing.
think we'll have to split in a second. It will kick us out from Zoom.
Okay.
Dania, thank you so much.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
so
really fun.
fun.
Uh, this is so cool because if not this, people may wonder, and I hope this will help them in a way in those tough times to come up with the idea and hit refresh, reset button.
Yeah.
And it's possible if you just want to, right? Like just do it.
Yeah. And there's like so many infinite ways to become inspired too. Like, one last thing I'll say is I get inspired a lot by dreams. I don't know, you have like probably a lot of surrealism in your art. I wonder if that's anything for
Yes,
you.
I do. Mm-hmm.
But do you ever have it where it's like, it's so amazing in your dream, you're like, oh, I'm gonna write this down when I wake up, and then when you wake up, you're like, this is garbage. Like,
Everything at night it seems to be more important and more problematic than in the morning. Like you
yeah.
wake up, oh, it's not a problem, or oh, this will never work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Although I just read something about how John Lennon actually got inspired in a dream for the song All You Need Is Love. I guess he heard it in a dream.
Oh, wow.
And it's like one of the biggest songs of all time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Dream.
All right.
Inspiration too. Dania, thank you so much. I'm going to
Thank you.
hit stop, and we'll see if it's recorded well.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.